Hey guys, Chauncey Phillips here. Welcome to brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Today we're just going to go out, see if anything different came out. I'm going to have some reviews as well at the end of this video, as well as an update, this weekend on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of stuff in that update. But anyway though guys, let's get going and see if we can find anything different today. Into Target we go. Well, the main stuff that came out today was Little Boy, which I saw in theaters. That was actually an okay movie. I actually thought it was kind of good. It was kind of sad, and Vendetta, which I actually liked that. I talked about that. The Sissoko sisters' new movie. I talked about that in the last update. That was actually a pretty cool movie. Some good old-fashioned Traffic. Oh, jeez. Into Walmart we go. There's two different spots I have to check in this location. I've been coming to this one lately, because this location seems to have a couple of different things. The one that I used to always go to, for some reason, has stopped having a lot of the weirder releases. Down here is where they usually have the newer stuff. It doesn't always change too much. It's still a lot of what it was the last time we were in here. The Area 51, which I got last time I was in here, and three-headed shark attacks. So it seems like most of these are still the same stuff as last time. This one might have been today, this Robert's Overload. I don't know for sure if this one was today or not. But yeah, and then the main stuff over here, Vendetta, like I said, and this came out today. This is only at Walmart, the Smosh movie, which I never really watched much of their stuff online, but I kind of wanted to watch this a little bit just because Alex Winter, directed this. So it's kind of interesting seeing it, mainly because Alex Winter directed it. I know there's a lot of other YouTube people who make cameos and stuff in it, so I might just get this for the hell of it. Even like I said, I never really watched them, so I don't really know their stuff. I know they've been on, though, forever, though. But that was today, like I said, Vendetta and Little Boy. But Vendetta I would definitely recommend checking out. This one I never watched, The Blacklist, that show. Yeah, so I ended up getting that in there. Like I said, I really wanted to watch that because Alex Winter, from the Bill and Ted movies, he also directed Freaked, directed this. So I kind of wanted to see it just because of that, just to see what it is. Like I said, it's probably not amazing. I just sort of wanted to see it. Into Sushi Ya we go. So I've never been to this location before, but I got the, the cucumber roll and the vegetable roll, and they have it in a unique kind of wrapped up thing. In here, I was sort of falling apart, but it's in I don't know exactly what kind of a, thing that is, because it's not seaweed. It's like something else that they have it wrapped up in. Vegetable roll. I don't know what that is wrapped around though. Cucumber. Into the local library I go, and they actually have DVDs in here. I've never actually gone to the library in years. Sort of wanted to go in, just something different to look at. See what they have in here. To rent, it'd be funny if they had something weird out of print in the library. But you never know. It's funny, you can come to the library and you can rent Suspiria. This library seems to have more weird stuff in it than some other ones I've been to. Because I remember when I was lived in Maryland and went to some of these, it was all really normal stuff. You would not find Suspiria and places, things like that in here. And you might say, what was I doing in there? I don't know. Just always wanted to kind of walk into one of them and see what they had. But there was a thing that said bookstore, but the bookstore was closed. So that's why there was no seeing if they were selling any of that stuff. But I know, I do remember them selling some things like that in there. But like I said, it was kind of funny to see some weirder things in there. Because like I said, you normally would think of in a library would be kind of just sort of the typical things you'd always see. Into Menchie's we go. Sorbet. Into Fry's we go. And you always have to really look in here because sometimes they have a whole lot of different stuff on sale. Right now there's a bunch of different things in here for $4, end of watch, but a lot of times they're all sold out and gone though. So you have to see what's left of it that's on sale. There's a lot of these $2.50 titles and stuff, Doomsday Book. So a lot of stuff I've got, but you have to really look through it and see, because sometimes you'll find one or two interesting things in here that I haven't got yet. Into Best Buy we go. So let's see if there's anything different here today. Sometimes they have been getting a couple more different things in here lately, but not always. Like I said, though, Vendetta is a really good price in here, though, $12.99 for that. But I don't know if there's anything else. I think this was today, too, the Walt Disney Short Films Collection. I'm pretty certain that was today. But I don't see too much else. This is a smaller week, but coming up, though, in September, though, there's a lot of stuff coming out. Like a lot of stuff from Olive Films, like some horror movies and Mannequin and a whole bunch of different things. So next month is going to be really pretty big for releases, but it's been a little bit of a smaller release month this month, but that seems to be all that is today, like nothing else really that different. So that's all for this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Now stay tuned for some DVD and Blu-ray reviews. Like I said, be sure to check out this Saturday. I'm going to have my new Blu-ray DVD update up. And there's like a couple things in there that are like amazing movies, especially this one movie. Really look forward to talking to you guys about that one. So definitely check that one out Saturday as well to see the new update. And the first one I got from Virgil Films is I Am Chris Farley, which is a documentary on Chris Farley's life. I believe this one premiered on Spike TV. Really well-made documentary about him, kind of talking, this is like the first one that they've done about him, talking about how he first started, you know, his beginnings, old family videos and things like that of him, and showing him at Second City, how he was discovered and how people were all talking about him, and that's how Lauren Michaels came there to see him and then ask him to go on SNL, and kind of how that was a real different thing for him, and how it went into all kind of details about him performing in front of a live audience when he was used to kind of performing, you know, to a group of people and had to perform really loud, and how he had to get used to being in front of the cameras. All kinds of details about him going to rehab 19 times, as I never knew he had gone to rehab that many times, and how it's kind of like people knew that he had to keep going away there, clean himself up, but he would have periods of time when he was clean for months and months and months, and then there would be a relapse, and kind of talks about the downward spiral at the end, and how, you know, they have clips of his last appearance on SNL when he was really bad off. And I remembered seeing that, you know, online, those clips of how bad he was, because he was on drugs at that point. It was a really rough time for him. But I've always been a fan of Chris Farley. This is a great documentary, though. Like I said, it talks to all kinds of people. Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, his brothers. Definitely would recommend checking this one out if you guys are a fan of Chris Farley. The next one from MPI is The Riot Club. This movie was okay. Didn't totally get into this movie. It's about basically at this school in Oxford University. It's a kind of a thing called like the Riot Club. It's about these guys that all kind of get together, drinking, like a drinking kind of club. And these two guys who first, you know, come to the school and end up getting accepted into this club. And the club is kind of like the school doesn't really like them, but they kind of have to deal with them and put up with them. They're, you know, drinking, causing kind of, you know, damage and causing all kinds of different problems around the school and all the kind of stuff that they're doing. And it's pretty much about these two guys in there, and then something ends up happening one night and they try and pinpoint it on the other guy, and they wanted to take the rap for something that happened, because they kind of get in these violent fights and all kinds of violent stuff going on because of these guys and this group, and they kind of feel like they're untouchable because they're, you know, it was, like I said, I couldn't really get into this one. This really wasn't my kind of movie. It's not bad or anything. I just didn't absolutely love it. And the next one from Anchor Bay is 7 Minutes. And this one, I really wanted to see this movie because Brent and Hardesty, you know, from YouTube, and he was in Bucky Larson, and a whole bunch of different movies, American Pie, Book of Love. But you know, he was a fellow Baltimorean. You know, I used to always see him at the movie theaters when I used to work in the movie theaters in Maryland. But, you know, he did all kinds of, like, reenactment skits online and things like that. I kind of want to see that because he plays a cop in this movie. And this movie is basically about these three young guys who plan to sell these drugs, so they really need money, and they all have their own stories of why they need the money. But the one guy kind of sees a cop when they're at the gas station and kind of panics, flushes the drugs down the toilet, and, you know, of course the people who they did that to, you know, need them to get the money for the drugs, and so they don't know what they're going to do, so they end up planning to have this robbery. Of course, the robbery does not go as planned, and it's kind of about the outcome of what happens because of, you know, stealing, you know, trying to rob the place, and it kind of showing all their problems and, you know, flashbacks and things like that to why they've had their issues and things like that. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I really wanted to see it to see Brent and Hardesty. It has on here, though, you know, a featurette on the movie as well. But I thought that it was actually a pretty well-made movie, though. It had, you know, it stars Jason Ritter as well. The next one from Anchor Bay is The Curse of Downers Grove. This is from the writer of American Psycho, and it's basically about this school, and they have this kind of like, it's kind of like the known thing. Every single year at the school, somebody dies right before graduation. It's like this kind of curse of this town. For some reason, it's kind of continuously always happening. Even when they think it's not going to happen, it ends up happening again. And in the beginning of the movie, this one girl with her friend end up going to this party, and the one guy is like kind of basically almost tries to rape her, and she ends up basically poking his eye out, you know, and it's like this real gross scene of poking the eye out. And then, you know, she ends up getting away, going back home, and of course, back to where she lives, the guy comes to the school and kind of starts to stalk her, and he's kind of crazy. There's a scene, too, of Tom Arnold in the movie, like, yelling at him, and, like, kind of crazy over-the-top scene of Tom Arnold, and I kind of like that scene. But it's essentially, though, for poking this guy's eye out, this guy's kind of nuts, and he, you know, doesn't think that he did anything wrong to her, what he was doing, and it's kind of stalking her and stalking her friends and things like that, and it's kind of like, what's going to happen? Is this one girl going to end up being the one person that dies, you know, every year because of the curse? That's essentially what it was, and it has on here behind the scenes of the movie as well. The next one from E1 is a Sean Astin movie, The Surface. This was not a bad movie. This is about Sean Astin, who basically goes out in this boat. You know, he sees his mother in the beginning of the movie. You can see his mother's in a nursing home in not great shape. And you see him with these, like, kind of jars of these things that he's filling up, and they have letters on them. You don't exactly know what they are. I kind of figured out very early on what he was going and doing. But he takes this boat out to the ocean, and he doesn't really have much gas in the boat. You know, you can obviously tell something's going on. But when he gets out there, before he can do what he's planning to do, he ends up seeing this guy in a crashed plane, and he ends up basically having to help the guy, bringing him aboard the boat, and it's pretty much them on the board of the boat, and, you know, he kind of is, it's pretty much them talking to each other back and forth about things, and kind of learning about their problems and things like that. That's pretty much what it was. But of course, so like I said, Sean Astin was out there for a certain reason. But it's pretty much a character study piece. I thought it was a pretty good performance, though, from both the actors in this movie. Kind of a different movie for Sean Astin as well. You know, I've always been a fan of his stuff, you know, ever since the Goonies and things like that, and Encino Man. But it has on here commentaries and you know, a music video on here and some featurettes and deleted scenes. The next one from Wild Eye Releasing is a Long Island serial killer. This is like inspired by a true story of the case of these beach murders, and it's basically about this serial killer guy who is going and basically killing all different prostitutes, and he ends up, you know, burying putting the bodies up on the beach, and it's pretty much about, though, this one girl who ends up wanting to be a escort, and of course, you know, is she going to become the next victim of this guy? And that's essentially what it was. And it kind of has like a kind of a 70s vibe to it with the music. Kind of reminded me of like a 70s like Italian music to the movie. Like the kind of like Cannibal Holocaust-y, kind of more Cannibal Ferox music in the scenes in New York City, if you guys know what I'm talking about. It had that kind of music to it. It was not an amazing movie or anything like that, but it was actually pretty cool, though. Like I said, those kind of sequences in it, and some kind of cool stuff in it. And it has 2 commentary tracks on here and deleted scenes. The next one, this is one I was really interested in seeing. I'm friends with the guy who directed this, Chuck Connery, on Facebook. This is his movie Morbid. It has a really pretty cool cover on this movie. Some people might say it's a little gross, so I don't know if I can show much of the cover, you know, because people always say if anything's gory or anything like that, you know, it's too gory and things like that. But the movie is basically morbid, and the movie's basically about this, you know, killer that's going around wearing this mask, and the mask kind of like the mask a little bit in Nightbreed, just a little bit, and he's basically, you know, here's a look at the back too, you can see the mask, and the movie's basically, though, about this guy who's going around killing the people in the town, but the sheriffs and the cops are kind of not taking much notice of this killer that's going around killing the people. They're all kind of more worried about, like, sports and football and all kinds of different things around the town. And then, you know, the cops are still kind of trying to figure out who it was. My favorite stuff, though, was the beginning of the movie, these kind of 2 nerdy characters that were kind of talking about movies and stuff like that. But some pretty cool kill scenes in this movie. Has 3 commentary tracks, deleted scenes, and behind-the-scenes video on it. The next one from Cinedigm is Paranormal Island. This stars Lance Henriksen. It's basically about this, in the middle of the lake, there's this bar that people go to, very popular bar, but it has all this kind of history to it where they say paranormal things have happened there. They've had some unexplained deaths and stuff like that. The original owner of the bar, when it's been there for 100 years, he ended up killing himself there, and they believe that might have something to do with it. And then it's about basically a group of these friends and some people who've already been working there, the older employees, go there for a summer job at this bar, and of course though they hear all these stories like make sure you're off this the island, the bar in the middle of the lake before right after it closes, because you don't want to be stuck there, because they say bad things can happen there. Of course they end up all getting stuck there. They believe their boat's there. Lance Henriksen's character who got them there, he's mysteriously disappeared and the boat's gone, so they end up of course getting stuck on this island, not knowing how they're going to get off. And then as soon as they get stuck there, paranormal things happen, start happening. The one guy there is also went to this island. He didn't really want to even work there. He just wanted to go there to film a documentary kind of thing about this place and see if he could prove that it really wasn't paranormal. That's pretty much what the movie was about. But it's actually a pretty interesting movie. I love Lance Henriksen's stuff in this movie. The next one from Vinegar Syndrome is Flesh and Bullets, and this was actually a really, really ridiculous movie. It's kind of a take on Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train, was I always think of, Throw 'em Out from the Train when I think of that. And this is basically about these two guys who are in Vegas. They end up meeting in Vegas. The one guy's like a criminal who's just robbed a bank and went to Vegas just because he, robbed the bank. And he ends up meeting another guy there who's they're both basically talking about how they have all these problems with their wives and have to pay all this money, alimony and all kinds of stuff. And they basically decide that they're going to kill each other's wives. And of course, though, they end up falling in love with each other's wives, and it's like kind of a thing about what they're going to do and if they're going to actually do it and go forward with it. But there's some great sequences in this, shot in Vegas, a couple scenes in Vegas, 80s Vegas, Levon DeCarlo's in this, which was kind of there's weird kind of cameos in this, like really random quick cameos in this movie. I really like this movie, and it had some really, really bad fun acting. Like there was one point where he's like, here you go, and gives him this guy at the bar this big tip, and the guy's like, well, thank you, son. And, it's really bad acting, but that's what kind of made this fun. And the next one is from Vinegar Syndrome as well, Sometimes Aunt Martha Does Dreadful Things. This was a great, really weird movie that I feel like probably no one's ever heard of or seen or anything. And it's, from the AGFA line, American Film Archive, American Genre Film Archive line from them. And they always have some really cool, weird movies. And this is basically about these two criminals who are hiding out in plain sight, and the one ends up kind of dressing as a woman and pretending to be the other guy's aunt. And the guy is kind of nuts that dresses as the woman, and he's got like a crazy side. And the other guy is always walking all over him and not really listening to what he says, and kind of sleeping around with women and stuff like that. And the guy who dresses like the aunt basically ends up going crazy and starts killing off people, killing off the women that he brings around. And it's kind of him going crazier and crazier. It's a really ridiculous, silly movie, but I really liked it because it's just a strange movie. It has on here too a commentary as well, talking about the movie. And the next one from INT Distribution is Beg. This movie I think was done a while ago. It's taken a while to come out. It has a pretty cool cover on this movie. And I remember hearing about this movie a long time ago with an interview, I think that me and Brendan did with Tony Moran. The one guy in this, I think that was who it was. Yeah, Tony Moran, I think he was talking about this movie, and I remember this years back. And this movie is called Beg, and this has Tony Todd in it, Michael Berryman, Tiffany Shepard, PJ Souls, and pretty decent roles, like little cameos and stuff like that spread throughout it. But it's basically, though, about a old detective who's like an older guy who's just kind of basically about to be forced out of retirement, but forced into retirement. But at the same time, there's this killer around going and killing people off in the town. He's wearing this pumpkin mask. It's a pretty cool mask. The mask was actually the coolest aspect of the movie. And he's basically, though, killing off people around the town. There's, a lot of pretty cool sequences in this, like party scenes and stuff like that. But it's him just sort of trying to, solve this big case before he ends up having to be retired, and hoping he can kind of wrap this up and figure out who this was. Tony Todd is in there playing the teacher, and it's kind of a cool sequences with him in that. And the last one I got from Vinegar Syndrome, can't really show the cover because people might say something about it, because they always do if you see anybody like showing skin or something. But it's, I kind of have to censor it like Walmart does. And it's the Peekarama 2 film collections with The Young Like It Hot and Sweet Young Foxes. And, you know, as usual, though, with Vinegar Syndrome's Blu-rays, amazing transfers on these movies, all taken from the original negatives, you know, 35mm negatives of them. The one, though, is basically a movie about a phone sex hotline, and the girls are kind of afraid they're going to get fired and replaced by robots. And the other one is about a girl whose boyfriend is going away, and she kind of has her sexual awakening in the movies. Like I said, these are more adult movies. But, you know, the one actually has Ron Jeremy in them, you know, years back Ron Jeremy in the 80s. You know, because it's just kind of funny to see him in these movies, you know, these porn movies, because I actually worked with him a couple times in horror movies, so it's always like love to see him in like older stuff, you know, his older adult films, because he was in so many different ones. But really good transfers on these ones. The phone sex one was the more fun of the movies, I thought. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for this video, and be on the lookout for my update on the end of this weekend, and I'll see you guys later.